These are some of the most popular videos I do exclusively for my patrons. Hey y'all, I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and this is my From the Vault series. This is a crazy summer where I am packing up this entire craft room and moving my family and my business multiple states away. But I thought as a special treat, as a special series, we would do From the Vault, where I choose videos that were previously exclusive to my Patreon members from back in the day and bring them over here to YouTube for you to check out. And today's video is fun because it's a your questions answered video. Oftentimes I do these videos for my patrons where they submit questions, really specific questions, and I answer them on camera for them. And this one was part of an organization series that we did in 2023. So you're going to see a much younger version of me, a much less tired version of me, answering questions and talking about organization and solutions. I am hoping that this is helpful for you as well. Let's check it out. Your questions or their questions answered. All right, so today I'm going to clean up my craft room a little bit from yesterday's videos and then try to answer a few of the questions that you guys asked me. The first question was from Dimple, and Dimple wanted to know if you are switching spaces. So for instance, I switched my craft studio upstairs with the basement and the kids' room. We switched places. She was wondering, what do you do to kind of stage places? Like, how do you flip-flop places in your house or spaces in your house if you are if you don't have room to put the things, which makes total sense. The way I did it with this particular craft switch, the way I did it in this room was that I actually took everything that was going to go up in the kid room and I pushed it all to one side of the basement. Like, I knew that the basement wasn't completely set up how I wanted, but I pushed all the kids' stuff to one side, brought all of the craft room stuff down, put it on this side, then moved all of the kids' stuff up, and then started arranging all the things. So I did have to come up with a staging area. It did end up being a little bit more manual labor because you have to just move things out of the way. So if you're flip-flopping to bedrooms, maybe you have a hallway or something like that that you're trying to work with and everything feels really crowded, which it often does as you are starting to move spaces. I would suggest that you create a space. You don't have a staging area necessarily, but you can make one, meaning push everything in one room to one side. The other thing that you could do that I've done, it's almost like have you ever moved within the same town? I get those big plastic bins, like the big black ones from Home Depot or Lowe's, and fill those up, stack them up so that you can move things from place to place and you're not necessarily packing for a full-on move, but you're getting things gathered in an orderly way so that you can work through your space. So it's maybe not an easy answer. I don't have an easy solution. You have to create a staging area in some manner. All right, so that being said, we know that when you are organizing your space, oftentimes it gets worse before it gets better. And it can be really overwhelming when you are in the between part, when you are trying to figure out where everything's going to go. Maybe you're in the midst of a de-stash and maybe you have a ton of stuff. I had an amazing patron one time that said what she did, she had a lot of stuff. She, much like me, loved supplies, had a love for supplies, had a ton of stuff. And so as she was going through it, she used a single table. So you could just set up a card table and be like, this is where I'm going to go through. And she would bring a box at a time, one box of stuff. She literally had tubs and tubs of stuff. And it seemed less overwhelming to limit the space to one table and start to organize there. So she really just marked out her space that she was going to organize in, and that way it didn't start overflowing to all the different parts of the house. It was like, this is my organizing area. If it's in here, I'm organizing it. And then she had a like complete area and then all of the stuff that was incomplete. So as she organized things, they went into like those plastic bins until she could finish going through everything and start to move it into her space. She just had plastic bins. The keep things stayed in the bins, put in the bins, stack those up. And that's how she was able to process through a larger amount of things. It can get really overwhelming. You have to designate a space. And if you don't have a space, you're going to have to create a space for yourself to work. There's no magic answer to just, there's no special piece of furniture to buy or anything like that. Something else that could help you, depending on how much craft supplies you have, is using carts to help you stage while you're moving things around in your space. Even maybe just picking up one extra empty cart that you could use as you're reorganizing might help, but you really have to designate a space. And it's hard for me to tell you how to do that, not being in your house. You need to look and see what you can handle. Whether it's your dining room table that's gone for a week or so, whether it's your desk, whether it's an extra card table that you're setting up, you need to pick a space that's your organizing space that's clear and allows you to work, and then start going through things in that way. And that might end up being your staging space as you move things slowly and surely. The other tip I would have for swapping spaces back and forth is, if you have a plan, then you can move little by little because you know where everything's going to go. If you're just moving things and then figuring out the plan, that's when everything's going to get mixed up. So have your plan, start to get the furniture set in place, and then you can start moving all the items. All right, so here is another question that I get all of the time. Every single time that we've done a destash, I always get the question of what to do with the things I'm destashing. And it's usually prefaced like this. Someone will say, I feel so guilty that the supplies are going to waste. I don't want to throw them out, so I don't want to destash until I know where to donate them, which I understand. I can relate to that. I have a harsh answer though. The truth is, they were already going to waste in your craft space. Whether they were sitting there or in a landfill, I know it sounds harsh, they were already going to waste, and having them in your craft room was making you waste other supplies that you would have actually been using as well. So here's the answer for that. Yes, make a plan to donate. Places to donate. You can donate to schools if they are more complete supplies, like a set of acrylic paints or a set of markers, something like that. Donate to schools, women's shelters, churches, church preschools, some things like that. Some places like that might be willing to take some of your supplies. Some old planner supplies and sticker books. Oftentimes those can be found at like the Salvation Army, so you can try donating there. Try donating to other crafty friends. Put together a box that's like your grab and go box maybe, and see if any of your friends are interested. In the end, if you don't have a place to donate the supplies and you don't have a place in your room, you might have to throw things away. There are times that I throw things away. I don't ever want to be wasteful. I don't ever want to be wasteful of money that I have spent or harmful to the environment by just throwing away a ton of paper and things. But in the end, it was already wasting away in this craft space that I wasn't using. So don't use the fact that you don't have a donation plan as an excuse to not de-stash. I know that sounds harsh, and I don't mean it to be harsh at all, but you still need to do the de-stashing. You still need to do the work. Come up with a plan. There's lots of places to donate. Call a few places. If it doesn't work out, maybe you've contacted 3 places and you can't find an answer, then you kind of have your answer. It's time to just get it out of there. All right, can you tell that I am a bit cutthroat when it comes to the de-stash process? I've been that way for a while, and here's what it's taught me. I did go through the feelings of, oh, I wasted that. What it has taught me is then when I'm buying again in the future, I think differently about what I'm buying. So it's teaching me a lesson to be much more thoughtful about what comes into my craft room. So once you go through the destash process and it's hard and you have those guilty feelings, you want to kind of tap into those as you're bringing new things into your craft room. So if you've spent the time to do this destash, then you've learned the lessons, and it changes how you look at things in the future. We've all been there. We've all realized that we've bought too much, or we've all realized that we're just, I don't know, for lack of a better term, we just like to jump around on crafts. We like different things. We like to try lots of different things, which I totally understand. So if that's you, that's fine. You almost have to cycle things in and out of your craft room. I used to do that with my kids when they were little with toys. We'd have different boxes of toys that would kind of come in and out of the playroom each week to keep them fresh. On a cycle. I remember that with my daughter, especially when she was giving up her nap time. She had special like nap time toys that would come in and she could play with them just during what should have been her nap time, and they would cycle through, and so it was like an exciting thing. So we can do that for ourselves in our craft areas. We can have some plastic bins full of things easily marked and say, hey, this week is jewelry making week, and that's what I'm doing. And at the end of this week, I'm putting the jewelry making stuff away. So that does a couple things. It clears up space in your craft room, and it makes it like a special occasion. Using those supplies ends up being like a highlight of your month. You put it away and you're like, I'll see you next month. So if you're someone that likes to try lots of different things, I absolutely relate. Consider organizing them in something like boxes or bins, clearly marked, where you can cycle them in and out of your craft room, and that keeps it fresh for you. It kind of keeps you from wanting to buy more things, because it's like, oh wait, but I'm gonna like open a new bin on Sunday and I'm gonna get to play with those supplies, so I'm just gonna kind of delayed gratification. I'm just gonna wait. So something to consider if you like to jump around and try lots of different things. The other thing that I will always tell you is that organizing your craft space is a personal thing. We all craft in different ways, and so really spending time to think about how you like to craft, how you like to work, how you like to utilize a room is going to be vital. We all don't have the same spaces. We all don't have the same inspiration points. So my space looks like one thing, but there are people that would look at my space and be absolutely overwhelmed with how I like to organize things. There are spaces that other people love who are more minimal, who like a calmer feeling, that wouldn't work for me at all. So there's different ways to work through different things. And I think it's really important. There's not a answer, like a one size fits all answer. All right, so super real life, then the contractor came, and then the Cricut's running and all the things. What I want to say is your space is uniquely you. It's uniquely for your needs, for what inspires you. My biggest tips are, as you are looking at how you're going to organize, flexibility is key. I like to invest in organization systems that I will be able to build upon in the future. So I try to avoid kind of those one-off solutions where you find one helpful thing here at the store, one helpful thing here at the store. I like going with systems like the home edit organization bins, because I know I'll be able to find those again. Or some of the storage pieces from Target or Walmart that have been there for years that you can continue to add and work into your system, because our stashes are going to grow, they're going to change, they're going to evolve, and I don't want to have to get new organization pieces every year when I'm doing something new in my craft studio. All right, I did want to address a specific question from Shelly, who sent pictures that I will try to put right here. They might be a little fuzzy, but you can check them out. She had a question about the location of her dream box. She has this like alcove in her room, and to me, as I'm looking at the pictures, here's my first question. Does the dream box fit underneath the soffit area? There's the part of the ceiling that comes down. Does the dream box fit underneath there, and is that a good place for the dream box? Because then you already can't get above the vertical space above the dream box. You can't really use it anyway. So why not move it under where it fits? that little alcove area, you said if you move your dream box over there, then it'll free up a whole wall. That might be a great solution. The thing about the dream box is you have to have the wall space to open it. So if you can get it against that wall in that alcove, open it up, and then perhaps create a workstation or countertop station on the other side of the room, that might be helpful to you. So consider where the dream box fits best. If it opens up against that kind of shorter wall, I think that that might be a good solution. That way you're not taking up a whole long wall with the dream box, but only that alcove where it would fit. And then you can move kind of longer countertops, maybe an island, a crafting island of some sort in the middle, and you can orient some of your cabinetry and create a little bit more open space in the middle for your crafting needs. So if I were you, I would consider moving the dream box. Does it fit under where the soffit is, or does it fit better in that tiny alcove? If it fits there, that's where I would put it, so that you're using as much of that space as you can and you're not wasting space on either side of the dream box. And then look at the possibility of some sort of crafting island or desk in the middle that kind of opens up the space and allows you to move. Then you can line the sides with cabinetry or storage. I hope that helps. I hope that this has been a helpful series for you. I hope that you are grasping that coming up with a plan for your organization instead of just jumping in and starting to throw things and de-stash and buy bins. Coming up with a plan is so important to a long-term success. Setting up a time in your planner every month that you are going to come back and do some maintenance in your space. I call it kind of like a maintenance time, and then each month I kind of do a deep clean, you might say, and really focus in on a certain area. So those are things to consider and add to throughout the year. That's how your space starts to turn into one that is more continually organized. Remember, messy is not the same as unorganized. You can have a messy space because you've been in the midst of projects and you are in a creative zone, and that's fine. Unorganized, though, is a whole other level. So messy is one thing because you can quickly tidy it up because everything has a place to go. But unorganized is something that you are working and journeying to get past, so that when your space is messy, it doesn't have to be overwhelming to clean it up because you know that everything has a space and you'll be able to find where everything goes pretty fast. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. As always, feel free to let me know any questions or any concerns you have, and I will get back to you on those.